ICPS was created as a think tank, and it was meant to be a think tank, and in those days it was 97 when it had already existed as a group of economists who were providing confidential advice to the Minister of Economy. The word think tank in Ukraine didn't sound very familiar. So we learned about it actually from the experience with the World Bank, the way how they provide the recommendations, how they prepare their recommendations, policy recommendations, and we were learning about the word policy from the World Bank in those days. Our advisors, when George Soros agreed to help and agreed to change the small group of economic advisors into a public policy think tank without changing its name, but helping to develop it into a bigger operation. So we then were thinking about the public process, how the decisions in the government would have been known to the stakeholders, and how those decisions would take into consideration also their positions. And our teachers became some very famous Western think tanks. The first one was New Zealand Economic Research Institute, because its director used to be the Ukrainian res rep in the IMF. RAND Corporation and Conference Board of Canada, those were the first three big think tanks who knew very well this craft of dealing with the government and providing policy recommendations.
I see. And what do you see for the future of think tanks in Ukraine?
Thanks to PASOS, well, now, and thanks to the think tank fund, our work as a think tank has become visible, because in the past we were part of an NGO group, and as an NGO we were not much different, or I'm very often not the best, because if you are comparing advocacy group, or if you are comparing some group which is dealing with a certain community, then what we are doing as a think tank and insisting on these qualities over policy analysis, like impact analysis, cost of problem, then these things were not so important for the other groups. And it was absolutely crucial for us that we have become identified now. We are part of a clearly identified group which is called think tanks, and it allows us to put, I think, more attention ourselves on the quality control, on the quality of our documents, and also we are receiving appreciation. We are receiving even an award now, award now. So that allows to hope for, and even not to hope, but to be sure that there will be more think tanks in Ukraine, and they will be developing along the clear professional lines, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We always put the quality control of the policy analysis, the public policy cycle as a standard goal for us, something that you want to develop, that you want to learn. And we were very lucky to have Conference Board of Canada, who were fantastic teachers in that, and RAND Corporation. And that was not sometimes not only accepted widely, but was even considered to be something irrelevant, because that meant for us that we work with the government, and we have to work with the government. And there was a period of time when institutions which work with the government are not, NGOs which work with the government are not proper, good NGOs. They shouldn't be working with the government. And we had this long period of being almost non grata, that because we insisted that whatever we are doing has to have its impact on the government. And if we are not having direct communication and direct some ways of dealing with the government, how can we expect for the impact? In those days, though the word was never accepted or never pronounced that way, but dissident work was the word, like like it was in the Soviet Union, but in Ukraine or in other post-Soviet countries, we did have already political changes. We didn't need to be dissidents. We only needed to be proper non-government agents, actors, whatever we call ourselves, though having a way to say things which the government is not thinking about or hasn't yet thought about. So I suppose that this situation changed so radically with PASOS, was slowly, of course, but the think tank fund and the name think tank changed the situation seriously here. And we now have people from other NGOs coming to ICPS and saying that, oh yes, you do this, and that has become visible. What we are trying to do now is linking ourselves and partnering with organizations which are exceptionally good with communications only. They're going from conference to conference, they're going to different cities, but they're lacking good analysis, they're lacking good text, they're lacking good messages, which would be based on solid analysis. And we are very both happy. We are having this now partnership one, which is with the former Vice Premier on European integration, Oleg Rybachuk, who is very famous in the NGO circles. He's very happy to work with us because he says, I don't have this capacity, and we are also very happy because he's very powerful and strong, and he goes around around all the capitals of Europe, and that is good. So having a clear identification, understanding one's role, understanding the standard, makes the work more or less possibly professional.